All right, so using the guide and the word template. So we'll talk about in this presentation as well. So again, my name is Deborah Charlesworth. I'm in charge of the thesis and dissertation process at Michigan Tech. And we'll talk today about how to find information and help. If you were here for our 1 o'clock session, there'll be a slight amount of review, but there might be some new people here as well. We'll talk about using the guide and what you can find in it. I have many students who go, do you have a rule for this? How to format like the title page? And we're like, we have forms for like everything. Why would we not have a format for the title page? Like we have a rule for all these things. So yeah, there's a new sign-in sheet for each seminar because I'd like to know kind of how many people stick around for the whole day and how many leave after one, just to kind of get an idea of how useful this is. So if you wouldn't mind signing in again, that would be great. So we're going to talk about using the guide. We'll talk about how to find the LaTeX template because we do have a LaTeX template, and how to use the word template. Again, if you have any need for a question or help at any time from the grad school, please email gradschool@mtu.edu. That email is always looked at by a staff member or student workers, and we'll be able to help you there. What's really important on the web, and we'll talk a little bit about some of these different web pages in this seminar, our policies and procedures area. First of all, forms and deadlines is where you will find all of the forms and then as well as the deadlines for the upcoming semesters. The degree completion timelines are your list of everything that you need to do and when you need to do it. So those are very helpful to refer to make sure you're keeping on track. And then if you're doing a report or a thesis or dissertation, you'll want to click on one of those two and you'll find lots of resources there. We'll talk a little bit more about some of those in this presentation. On our resources for page, you'll find the current students page, and that particular page has a number of important links that are again common. So things like forms and deadlines and the completion timelines and dissertation rules. So this is a good page to refer back to. It's kind of got a conglomeration of everything that you'll need. But what's important for today is that the graduate school seminars one in the center column, which is boxed in red, that particular seminar page will have the links to the slides for the presentation today, as well as the handout that's up front for all of you, as well as the recordings of these seminars, so that if you want to refer back to them. If you have trouble falling asleep at night, I hear they're quite good for, you know, a nice lullaby, you know, talk about formatting and deadlines. Okay, so why should you care? Well, if you care about formatting even a little bit, you can graduate sooner. And that's really what we're here for. We want to help you graduate. So if you care a little bit about formatting now, you can graduate sooner or later. And that's really everybody's ultimate goal. And with less expense. As we talked about in the last presentation, there are deadlines to meet. If you can't revise your document with the formatting that's necessary by a certain time, it's going to cost you more money. And we really don't want to collect more money from you. We want to see you succeed. We want to see you in your first job. Digital documents are also frequently being downloaded, so people will see your work. In the good old days when I graduated, there were folklores. I don't know if anybody really did this, but the story goes that you would take your dissertation off the shelf of the library and you'd stick a $50 bill in the middle of it. And then you'd put it back on the shelf. Then 10 years later, you'd go back and you'd get your $50 bill back, because nobody had actually opened it up, right? That's the legend. I don't know if anybody really did that, because at least when I graduated, I didn't have $50 to stick in my book, so that wasn't going to happen. But these documents are frequently being downloaded. I mean, I looked at one yesterday. We had one that was downloaded like 500 times in the last month. That's a lot of downloads. People are looking at these things on Digital Commons. So if you're thinking about, you know, if you're concerned about the pictures that you're putting on Facebook, what about your thesis or your dissertation? More people might see that than your cat picture on Facebook. So, you know, if we're concerned about these things, if we're concerned about our digital identity, if we're concerned about how we present ourselves to the world, we should care, because people will see these digital documents. They are being downloaded. They're being downloaded around the world. And the third point that I would make is formatting really is a transferable skill. Many of the things that we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about them in the context of a dissertation or a thesis. But I use all of these things on a daily basis when I'm making Word documents. I use them all on my CV. I use them when I'm writing proposals. If you can learn how to master the formatting process for a dissertation, you can format anything. I mean, that's the longest thing you'll probably ever write in your lifetime. If you can master that, you're golden. This is something that you can use over and over again in your professional career. So this was just one day last year to show that there were 512 views on one day in September. And they're all over the world. I mean, people all over the world are looking at these documents. It's not just people in Houghton. It's not just people in the US. It's people all over the world. And so that's going to be something that's important for you to think about as you're preparing your document. So the guide is the governing document for your dissertation, thesis, or report. This contains all of the rules about how to format your document. And so if you haven't looked at it yet, we're going to look at it today, and hopefully you'll download it later for yourself and to keep a copy of it somewhere handy. So where is it? Well, you're going to want to go to the area for theses or reports. It's the same guide for either one, but it's better to just go to the document that makes sense for you. At the top of that page, there are a bunch of links then. So we'll go through some of the formatting and preparing ones today, but you'll see in that first sentence that hyperlinked item guide is where you'll find the guide. And so that's right on the home page of the thesis and dissertation area. It's very prominent. And I downloaded it to my desktop. Got it open. So here is the guide. It was modified in spring 2018 for a little bit of clarity. So this is, none of the rules have changed regarding formatting. So if you have an older version and you're following those rules, nothing's going to change. But we did modify it a little bit for clarity. We had to update the URLs because of the website changes as well. It's also a model for a double-sided document. So you'll find something funny in this, which is that after the first page is blank, because after the title page of a double-sided document, you'd want a blank page. And then the margins, you'll see that they're wide on this side, but they're going to be wide on this side. That's because the left-hand side of an odd page of a book will be on the binding side of a book. When you flip over in a book, the even side, the right side will be on the binding side. So this is an example or a model double-sided document. Now, I will give you my first piece of advice today, which is that if you love formatting and want to tear your hair out at night, maybe you have plenty to spare, double-sided format your document. If you would like to complete your degree in a timely fashion and not lose as much hair, I would recommend single-sided formatting. Double-sided formatting is just much more complicated. It just creates a lot of havoc if you're not really super comfortable with formatting. So if you're already a formatting guru and it's your dream to have a double-sided document, like, go for it. It can be really nice. But if you're just trying to finish your degree and want to do it with the least amount of muss, I would suggest single-sided formatting. And that is how our template is formatted, because we're trying to make things as simple as possible. The other thing that this document does is, if you look at the sections in order, this lists for you in order all of the sections and whether they're required or whether they're optional. So in case you're wondering what's the order of the sections, where does a table of contents go, where does a list of figures go, where do acknowledgments go, this tells you that order. It's also what we would call bookmarked. So when I click on list of figures over here on the left-hand side, these bookmarks will take me to the list of figures. If I click on double-sided printing, I will go right to double-sided printing. And so this is a model electronic document that shows how bookmarks can help you with navigation. It's also hyperlinked. So when it says also see section 3.9, 3.9, because it actually refers to a location in my document, is a hyperlink. So it will now go to section 3.9. So it kind of shows you some examples of some good practices for documents. If it's not in the guide, and there's a lot of stuff that's not in the guide. I get the most random questions about formatting. You would not believe some, you probably would believe them, but there's a lot of random questions on formatting. If it's not in the guide, it's up to you and your committee. So don't make up more rules than we have. We don't have that many rules, to be fair about it. Mostly it's about margins and making sure your title page looks nice. That's really kind of the bottom line of it. So if it's not in the guide, it's up to you and your committee, and I will refer you back to them as necessary. So in the fall, well, last summer, we soft launched some templates. We did some experimentation with them. We saw how they were working. And then in the fall, we did kind of a harder launch, and now we're kind of saying the templates are really good. After a semester's worth of data, I can tell you that students who use any template are more likely to be accepted the first time than those who don't. So if you want to, again, if you want to finish quickly, if you want to finish with less formatting and less must, getting started with a template and doing that will be helpful. So again, you're going to go to that thesis and dissertation area or the reports if you're doing a report. There is a template for a report, a template for a thesis, and a template for a dissertation. So you'll want to select the correct one based on what you're doing. On that formatting page, we're going to focus on the Word one today. That's because that's where my expertise is. And also the majority of students do submit using Word. I can't remember what the data was exactly, but it's something in the area of 60 to 70% at least, if not a little higher than that. It's not very much actually that use LaTeX. If you are using LaTeX, Michigan Tech has a service, and the library can help you more with this, called Overleaf. And you can create an account on there, and they do have access to the Pro Tools now because they've subscribed to some things through the library. So if you'd like to use Overleaf, that is a collaboration tool for LaTeX that's web-based that some people are familiar with. I'm not super familiar with it. I kind of poked around in it, and I actually got a title page to look like a title page. So I don't know LaTeX very well, and I was able to do that. You can also download it from GitHub on our formatting page. There's a tutorial repository and links, and that was created by a former student who was kind enough to share that with us. You can use the Word template with an existing document. So if you've already started your document and you're like, I really don't want to fuss with putting my stuff in the template because I've already started something and I don't want to mess that up, you could, for example, one option is to take the title and approval pages, put the stuff in them that's required, create a PDF, and then when you create your PDF of your thesis, you can just put those 2 pages in the front. So you could do that as one option. Another option would be to just copy and paste the text from the title and approval pages into your document, and then those would be formatted appropriately, and you wouldn't need to do any additional changes to the rest of your document if you've already gone kind of past the point of no return and you don't want to reformat a whole bunch of stuff. The other way, which we would recommend, but we realize that not everyone's at the same point, is that you could use the template to start with. So download it, and that's what you would start typing in. What you will find in the template is that the yellow highlighted text is stuff that needs to be edited by you. And the green highlighted text are instructions. And so those are things that you would need to delete. Now, you wouldn't want to delete them until you've read them and followed them, but you can always download it from the website if you wanted to. You will then use the heading styles, and we'll go through a little bit of this in a little bit, to create your document outline and start typing. And my key word to you is to never delete any existing section breaks. So if we just take a quick look at the template, I just downloaded the dissertation one for sample. I actually uploaded one just today that corrected a few things on the title page, put the year to be 2018 and things like that. But so there's additional, I guess, pink. Pink is just totally different just to make it even stand out more. But the grad school notes here, so here's some highlighted notes that tell you, you know, this is for a dissertation. If you're doing a thesis or report, there's a link for those. And it's telling you that this is the highlighted yellow text. You can see here, this is where your title goes. So you clearly wouldn't want your title to be title of dissertation in all capital letters. You would want to put something else there. You'd also put your name here. You would put your degree program here. If your year was different than 2018, let's say you download the template now to start writing and you didn't actually submit it till 2019, you'd need to change that. And obviously your name's not Blizzard T. Husky. So all the title page elements are there for you. You just need to update the yellow ones. Same thing with the approval page. You would need to update the yellow pieces here, your name of your department or school of school name. You'd update these with your committee members. And then depending on if you're a department chair or a school dean, you would use one of those two titles, not both. You'd use one of them. So the yellow highlighting will hopefully let you know, like, these are the things I need to edit. The grad schools kind of put them in the right place and they're formatted correctly, but you would do that. In order to successfully use the Word template, you're going to need to know about styles. How many of you know about styles in Word? That's a typical response, very few people. And I will show you where they are in a minute, and once I show you where they are, you'll go, oh, that's what they're for. Well, things right on the home page. The things that you'll need to know that will help you be successful are how to apply them to your text, how to alter them to suit your needs, how to create new ones if you want. And we have all of this on our blog. So if you go to our blog for the grad school, there's a section on Microsoft Word, and there's a lot of, if you just search for styles, you'll find all the things on styles. And a lot of those links are on the one-page handout that I provided to you at the front of the room. The other thing that you'll need is section breaks. You'll need to know what those are. And they separate texts that have different formatting. And if you accidentally delete one, you could completely mess up the whole document. So that's why it's very important not to delete any of the existing section breaks. So we'll take a look at styles first. So styles help you format text consistently. And it's really one of the most powerful things that there is in Word. In fact, if you talk to a LaTeX user, they will talk about styles and how LaTeX just does it for you, and why don't you just learn how to use LaTeX? Well, if you know how to use styles in Word, it does exactly the same thing. It's just a WYSIWYG interface instead of coding. If you have done any coding with a web page, it's like applying a header 1 to text or applying a paragraph tag. What it also does is it helps make your document visually appealing and helps your reader. So headings are going to define levels in your document, whether it's a body text or captions, and that's what Word can do. And the styles are found on the Home tab of the ribbon. And so if you've ever seen this little box here that's got all these little things, this is what styles are. And as soon as you open up Word, if we go back to Word, it takes up at least a good half or 60% of that Home ribbon tab. So if you're not using those at all, you're throwing away a big piece of Word and productivity. Because if you're doing this to format your text, if you're selecting it, changing the font size, changing the font formatting, and repeating every time you want your text to be a certain way, you're working way too hard, and I can hopefully show you a better way. So the first thing that you can do is you can use the built-in style. So let's just find an area in the document here. So here we're in the main body. So let's say this is my, I'm going to call this my introduction now. And maybe this is, so my dissertation was on hip replacements and bone cement, so I'm going to do some headings there. And I go, oh, I really, before this hip replacement section, I need another section. This is, you know, this is my main introduction. This is, if we click in the introduction thing right here, we'll see that heading 1 is highlighted. So heading 1 is a main level heading. But let's say I want to create a new heading here. I'm going to just put that there, and I'm going to go bone cement. And somehow it's gotten a little messed up because it feels like it wants to make that a website. So I don't want that a website. So I can clear all this. So when I click on this little button here, I get a little menu that has a little more options to it. And so if I don't like the formatting of a section, I can clear all. I didn't like when I hit return here and started typing, it made that a URL. I don't want that a URL. This is the URL. This isn't. So I'm going to clear that formatting. And I can maybe even make another section heading here. And now I'm going to type my text. And this is what's known as normal. So normal is just going to be my regular paragraphs. So whenever I want to make a new section, maybe I want to say bone cement, maybe I want to talk about mixed in mixer, mixed in air. So anytime I want to make a new section, this is heading 2, this is going to be your subsection. Heading 3 is going to be a subsection of that, and it'll automatically renumber those. So maybe I want to move this section here. I don't like where this is anymore. I want it here. I can do that, and everything renumbers for me. So these headings 1 through 5 are set up to create the outline structure for your document. And so all you need to do is type whatever text. So this is another new heading in this chapter. Type the text, highlight it, and select the level heading that it is. Maybe this is a heading 3. And it will automatically change. If I want it to be heading 2, I can make it heading 2. I want to make this a new chapter. I can make this a new chapter, and now this is now renumbered as well. So if you use headings 1 through 5 to create a logical outline for your document, they will automatically renumber and go through that section. Now maybe the graduate school has selected Arial. I'm an old school person. I like Times and I like Arial. You look at my dissertation in my office, it's Times and it's Arial. I think I might have used Helvetica because I was on a Mac. Believe me, it looks a lot like Arial, okay? So that's my dissertation. But maybe you're not quite as boring as me. Maybe you want Rockwell Extra Bold because that looks awesome. Or maybe you like brush script. No. Oh, I want that bigger. But nothing else changed, right? Just that one. Well, this is heading 2. All I need to do here is right-click on heading 2, update to match selection, and now every single heading 2 has been updated.
So you don't care about those?
I don't care about the font. Graduate school doesn't. Well, let's look at the guide. What does the guide say about fonts? Here's the guide. Formatting guidelines, typefaces. The typefaces in table 3.1 are recommended. What does recommended mean? Does recommended mean we have to do it? No. Recommended means it's a good idea, but if you don't want to follow it, we don't care. So we're going to recommend some things because for clarity and for versatility, for maximum compatibility across platforms, these are kind of fonts that people sort of accept on the web and in print. So we've selected a list for you if you want to get a little fancier than Times and Arial. But Arial, Century, Garamond, these are all kind of web-friendly fonts that people are recognized as being good fonts. So I can do whatever I want there. So maybe I don't want that. Maybe I actually think in hindsight that brush was a mistake. I'm going to go with Garamond, and that's like way too big. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. And now I'm going to, this is a heading 2. So I'm going to right click on here and go heading 2. Now imagine that this was your CV for a minute. And you've got job titles and job descriptions and headers that say your experience level. What if each one of the types of things on your CV was a different style? And then as you wanted to change your font or your spacing, you changed it once, and your 20-page CV changed throughout the whole document. That's the power of styles. And if you have a 200-page dissertation, it made these changes on this page here, but it also made them everywhere else, made them here. I don't have to find them. I don't have to look for them. I don't have to go through my whole document to see where did I miss one. They're all right there. So this is the power of styles. It's really amazing. Now you've got built-in ones, and you can modify ones, but maybe I want another style here. So maybe I want to put a tab. So maybe I want a center aligning tab at 3 inches. And maybe I want a right aligning tab at 6 inches. So now I have a center aligning tab here and a right aligning tab here. And I'm going to call this my new style. I'm going to call this DDC equation. I like to use my initials in my styles that I create, because then if I create something, I know it's mine. And if I create something that maybe overwrites one of Word's built-in styles, I won't get mucked up. So I like that. So you'll notice that the graduate school has a number of styles here called GS for graduate school, so that we don't overwrite something maybe that you created in your document. But now here, I can put a tab in the center, and I can insert an equation. And then maybe I want to say this is equation 1. Perfectly right aligned, perfectly centered. And so every time I want an equation, I will do that. And for some reason, it's deciding that it wants to do this. So I'm going to say update to match selection. No. So now anytime I want an equation, I can go DDC equation, and I can go tab. I'm just going to do it the easy way this time. Okay. So wherever I want that to appear in my document. So in order to make your own style, you would maybe for my paragraphs, maybe I always want to have 18 points after and nothing before, and I want double spacing. I can make a new paragraph style that's now double spaced. And now if I want this paragraph to be double spaced, I can just click on that and make it double spaced. So you can create your own styles. The starter ones are really the headings. Headings 1 through 5 are used for your main document. Heading 6 is used for the things in the beginning of your document that don't have numbers, like definitions, acknowledgments, abstract, all that sort of thing. And then headings 7, 8, and 9 are used in your appendix. So you can have appendix A and A.1 and A.2 and those sorts of things. So 7, 8, and 9 are for appendices, 6 is for definitions, acknowledgments, abstract, and then 1 through 5 is for your main document. Our blog has all of these kind of broken down by how do you do all these things, and very simply, modifying a style, creating a style, and how to apply a style. So that's how you would use styles, very briefly. Section breaks are the other tool that you need in order to use a template successfully. So a section is a block of pages that share some set of common characteristics. Generally speaking, that's page size, page orientation, and the location and/or type of page numbers. And you can use the Show Hide Paragraph button on your Home tab in order to see those. So if I go to the Show Hide Paragraph here, we will actually see there's a page break here, but there's a section break here. And so those will be visible when you have the show hide paragraph on there. You want to use a section break if you have a different style of page numbers in your document. So the traditional way to number a document is that the title and approval page has no numbers. The next section has Roman numerals, and then the final section, the main document, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You might have pages that are landscape or portrait. You might have pages that are 11 by 17. You might have pages that have different margins. You probably wouldn't in a dissertation, but you might in another type of document. You might also want a different column layout. The abstracts that I used to submit to the Society for Biomaterials had a header across the top and then a 2-column underneath. So I had to do that on the same page. You might want different headers or footers. If you want some of those things, use a section break. If you don't, don't. Page breaks are different than section breaks. Page breaks just make the page go to a new page. So you want to use those if you just want to force it to a new page. If you don't want to change anything about the formatting, that's what you would use. If you want to change formatting, use a section break. Deleting them can lead to disaster. And I say this from my own experience as well as others. Page numbers can change location, type, or be deleted entirely. And that'll totally muck up your document. Your margins that you set so carefully in one place can be totally different in the next. You might decide, I see this many, many times with documents where the first 50 pages of the page numbers are fine, and then starting on page 51, they're wrong. And that's because they put a section break in there and they're not tied together. So then they changed them in the first part and said, oh, it looks fine for the first 50 pages, we're good. And then on page 51, it's not, and that is a disaster. So that's what happens when you do those. So in a traditional document, and the template is formatted as a traditional document, I still see the majority of students wanting this type of formatting, which is that the section 1 has no page number, so that would be your title page, signature page, and dedication page. Section 2 would have your lowercase Roman numerals, so that would be your table of contents through your abstract. And then section 3 would be Arabic numbers, which would be 1, 2, 3, and that starts on the first page of your first chapter and goes to the end. So if we go to the dissertation template, you'll see that this section here has a break. Then if we go to our table of contents, there's no section breaks, there's no section breaks, there's no section breaks. It goes all the way down. All the way down, abbreviations, abstract, and there's a section break there, and it's at the very end of your abstract. Notice here we have Roman numerals at the bottom of the page, and on the next page we have 1. If I delete this section break, now I have 8 here. If that's not what you wanted, that's the problem that it creates, okay? People usually want me to also demonstrate how to put in a landscape page. If you love formatting and want to spend hours on formatting and want to lose some hair, put a whole bunch of landscape pages everywhere in your document. If you want to finish, and you want to keep your hair, or more of it than you maybe have at the end of it, don't use landscape pages. So in a landscape page, you would need to insert a section break. So you would need to go to your design view, your layout view, and you go breaks. And notice that there's lots of different types of page breaks and lots of different types of section breaks. So in this case, I want, let's say, a landscape page in the middle of chapter 2. So I'm going to put a section break at the end of this document, at the end of this piece here. I want it to be on the next page. I don't want it to be continuous. You can also do evens and odds. This would be for double-sided documents. Again, more complexity, more headache. Don't do it if you don't need to. So here's where I would insert my landscape table. I'm going to have another break, another next page section break. And somehow that's got there. So now I have this blank, oops, wrong. Yeah, so here's my landscape table right here. It's on a portrait page right now. So what I would need to do is go on the orientation. I'll go to this little menu here, the page setup menu. These little menus here pop up. But I want to say for this section, I want a landscape page. My cursor is on the page. It says insert my landscape table here. So I can go OK. So now this makes this a portrait page, and this a landscape page, and this here. Now you may say, well, this is no big deal, but here now look, this is page 1. Well, how did that happen? I don't know. Now I got to figure this out. So that's the same as previous. I'm just going to delete that entirely, get rid of that. Oh no, now I deleted all these page numbers because they're the same as previous. Well, that's not very good. So now I need to unclick this link to previous because I actually don't want that linked there. And somehow the numbering's gotten messed up. So I want to continue that from the previous section. And I actually don't want these to be the same as the previous. And now I got it 4. So like all these things start happening and they start cascading downward. Now the reason that I said I don't want to link to previous is because actually on a landscape pages, this page in a book is going to be rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise. If I do that, that means that my page numbers are now rotated sideways. So when I'm going through my book, I need to turn my head sideways 90 degrees. So the proper place to put page numbers here is actually on this side. And so what we're going to do is we're going to insert a page number, but we actually have to insert it in the margins. And we have to go large left is one that works. But now this, I have to go to the design. And it's hard with that little thing there, format. I want my text to be this way. And now I need to go to home and make this some normal text, but it's not wanting to normalize it. I'm going to have to make this times and 12. And now I'm going to have to figure out how to make this 4, 1 inches from the bottom of that page. So now we've got a lot of extra stuff to do for one landscape page. And so if you're going to do one every other page because you think that's clever, you're going to make a lot of extra work for yourself. So inserting landscape pages can be quite the tragedy or the cumbersome piece of work. It's not undoable, but if you are going to do landscape pages, I might recommend you putting them in an appendix at the end of your document, because if they're at the end together, then they're going to just kind of have to be formatted once. But trying to put one in the middle of every chapter is going to create a lot of formatting issues for you, and it's just going to be a lot more work. We're going to talk about checking your margins in our last seminar today with Adobe Acrobat, because that's how we check your margins, and I'll show you how you can check and fix your document there. But I would also recommend, whenever you're talking about formatting, to carefully proofread your document. We see a lot of documents with problems on page 3. So the document's generated, it looks great on the first page, and everyone goes, looks good, I'm going home now. And then we find something on page 3, and we all kind of cringe, because we're like, oh man, they just looked at page 3, help yourself. Would really encourage you to use the template. Just using the template with the styles to start writing your document, you're going to save yourself a lot of time. And we do have data that strongly shows that people who use any template, whether it's Word or LaTeX, and actually the Word and LaTeX are equal right now in terms of revisions and things like that, you will have fewer revisions, you'll finish sooner. So that's definitely something you want to be doing. We didn't talk about this today, but I would also strongly encourage you to use software for your references. If you don't know about EndNote, The library has training available for that. It's a free download. That works really well with Word, and it can also export into a BibTeX format that LaTeX users can use, so it's good for everybody to use. But there's also other options like Mendeley and Zotero. I don't know about those as much, but I know people have mentioned them and said they like them. We will have formatting workshops later in the semester. We found that if we hold them now, we have maybe one person show up, and that's not really an effective way to run a workshop. But we will have those later in the semester, usually about week 10. And so we'll have a trained student there to help you. You'll have a computer. You can be with your document, working on it with somebody. You can bring your laptop if you prefer, but they'll be in computer rooms, so you don't have to. And that will help you answer kind of how to do this in my document, which is something that's kind of difficult to do over email. But we will try, and you can certainly bring in your laptop to our offices at any time. I can try and help you. So that is the end of the formatting. My watch says 2:43, so I'll give